Superman, and Superboy, and StarGirl,
or Superman.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to The Krypton Report.
And you're listening to Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
it's a bird!
It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast. This is the greatest podcast ever. Not really, but sometimes we like to think so. I am your host, Tyler, the Superman of Blue, coming at you live from the basement of solitude. And with me, as always, is the voice of the man in red himself. Not Santa Claus, not the devil, but the Superman of red, Mr. James Cole. Welcome, James.
Yes, hello. I'm in my solitude as well.
Man, what's interesting is we were afraid there wouldn't be a lot to talk about, with Super cutting short and kind of rechanging our schedule, but we got some stuff to talk about. We're just going to kind of jump in with some news, and then
DC's always doing something, right?
Yeah. So we finally got comics started back this week, so we'll touch on that. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped for our discussion points for today. We actually have a lot. So we'll just start with the top of my notes here. So the first thing is, this is kind of weird, but they're not going to recast Kate Kane on Batwoman. They're going to give us a whole new character.
It's kind of like Mystery of the Batwoman. Remember that animated movie?
I do. And I thought that one was cool because it kind of blended all the different Batwoman type character ideas that had come before, because up until like the Kate Kane, she was another one of those characters that had was it Catherine Kane at one point married Bruce Wayne in the Golden Age, and
I know some versions of Batwoman that I've seen are like full mask, no mouth, like not much of a I don't know, identifying factors for her.
Yeah, my issue with this idea right here is, one, like I read the article and they're talking about they didn't want to discredit anything that Ruby had done. Okay, I get that. But her season is done. Like, it still stands. And the fact is they have a show to produce and to make. And, she wanted to leave. Okay. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you could have, tweaked and reboot the show a little bit. But now it's going to be weird because now it's like we have a new character. Okay. Is she basically just going to be the copy of, like, they said she's also going to be a lesbian. Okay.
And what kind of relationship is she going to have with the people involved,
Yeah, I mean, it's starting...
I don't know about Alice, but like there loses a personal touch there.
The Jacob
her
Kane
sister
story.
Mary, the Jacob Kane story, like I honestly would have I'm okay with it, I guess. I honestly would have just recast her. And like, we're thankful that Ruby Rose had her time as this character in the first season, and due to factors, she left, she's gone, and this is the new person playing Kate Kane.
Yeah, I mean, I look at like Superboy. They retooled the show and second season with Gerard, and it still carried on. It was a little different, but still felt like a continuation from the first season. But also, this new person automatically supposed to be accepted into the Justice League. This new person is they're gonna try to build up this new person and Supergirl having a relationship to eventual confrontation that we were supposed to see or something involving those two characters. So it's like they're just going to reboot the show, and maybe it'll be better, but it'll be a whole new show. And that's just kind of sad for those who have worked on the show and built these storylines. And now, like, was it going to be Luke Fox on the street? Like, I have to recruit the new Batwoman. Like,
that's terrible.
It's gonna terrible. I'm like, it's just gonna be weird. I mean, unless they did they could have done something maybe where Julia Pennyworth just took over and was Batwoman. At least if they want to do a whole new character, there's some like grounds for that. But now you're just basically gonna make Kate Kane 2.0, where they're gonna be. It's not Kate. It's this character. I think the name like Ryan Wilder or something like that. Was the name they were kind of looking at for the character or something? A whole new character for. And I'm like, but you're basically,
isn't that like the casting call name or something they're using right now?
Yeah. But basically, it's going to be all the same traits as Kate, but not Kate. So.
So Kate Light, okay.
It's like, did you ever watch? Did you ever watch Saved by the Bell?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember how like they were graduating, but then like something happened, they paused or whatever, and then all of a sudden they got Tori on the show, and like they graduated with Tori, but then they also graduated like again with Kelly, because like they did it twice, and like out of nowhere they brought in the character of Tori, and they like did their senior year again for like so many episodes, and then she just disappeared.
Yeah, it was a contract thing at the time with Tiffany Thiessen, and she didn't return for that season,
and then
then came back later.
And they basically just redid it, and it was like so weird. Because they were like, what? So I don't know. It's just, I'm interested in the show, but I mean, if they're going to do it this way, when it comes back, it really needs to like maybe do a time jump or something, and it feels like a different show, and then they kind of like hint back at things that happened. Because I mean, this is the world. I mean,
see, because I'm wondering how they're gonna translate. Is she gonna come back and leave the show? Like, are they gonna do that, or is just when it comes back that Kate Kane, Batwoman's missing? Like Bruce Wayne is missing. And somebody else just takes up the mantle.
Are they going to do some Power Rangers stuff?
Stumbles into it.
They're going to do some Power Ranger editing where they'll have some like extra footage of Ruby they'll use and then just like to get rid of her. I've been watching so much Power Rangers. It is an editor's like fun dream to play around with.
Yeah, man. Like I've heard the stories of that and just watching it. Oh man.
The newer ones, like we watched one of the newer seasons. It gets a little bit harder sometimes to tell where the Japanese footage and the American footage is, because with technology, I think they've been able to blend stuff and do stuff a little bit more seamless. But the old stuff, man, it stands out so much. It's amazing that when the Power Rangers morph, all of a sudden they go from being like in a California like town to some industrial park full of buildings and mountains. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
they actually morph the world around them as they morph themselves.
Nice. It's like a completely different region, almost.
People have mentioned things change and we adapt. Like as an audience, we get it. The Don Cheadle as Rhodes. As Ben things point out, like we just accepted Don Cheadle is now Jim Rhodes, and they built upon. They didn't say too much about the relationship from Iron Man 1, but they just built on it from Iron Man 2. And we just took it, and that's Rhodey.
Yeah. Like they were already supposed to be friends. They're like, okay, we're just going to drop you into this friendship. They're friends. We're going to drop you in and just, like you said, it's me. Accept it. Move on. Let's go.
Maggie Gyllenhaal comes in The Dark Knight and is now Rachel, and we're like, okay, I had to recast. Okay, this is Rachel. We're going to try to buy into this and keep these relationship and keep these themes going. But now it's like every theme you had built is dead. Every character connection with this main character is gone.
Yeah. Like I said, I would prefer they just recast.
Me too.
Yeah. Just recast and just,
keep it going.
We're thankful for her. Yeah, we're thankful for her and her contribution this first season. We couldn't have even started this show without her. And, here we go. We've got a new Kate Kane, a new Batwoman.
And then in other...
This way we can continue those, like you said, stories and plot lines and character connections built up over this first season.
So in other news is Hartley Sawyer was fired from The Flash because of racist and misogynist tweets that he sent out in 2012. You know what? I say this. I don't know the guy. People say dumb stuff on social media trying to be funny. Like the James Gunn incident. Was it Kevin Hart had some things that came up? The problem with, Twitter or whatever is that if you and I are talking and I make a joke, you can kind of feel out that I'm making a joke because you and I are talking. We have a pre-existing relationship. You kind of know me and how I talk. So if I'm saying something, but in a text format, somebody saying something without actually knowing the person and you don't know if they're joking comes off wrong. And
text is a pretty messed up way to communicate because you can't you're trying to find context and tone from black and white and it doesn't work
because you read too much into it. And the other thing is too many people don't think of their social media and what it actually can do. Like once you put something out there, like it's out there. You can't take it back. Like if people can find it or whatever. And it's just kind of crazy that like, I've seen people, this girl I worked with got fired because she called off work saying she was sick and then was out doing junk and was putting on her Facebook, taking pictures and everything of like her doing stuff. And it's like, we have you, like you were supposed to, you're fired.
Yeah.
Like people don't think about how that social media and stuff works. And, it's crazy that these are just now surfacing now. And everything, but I really liked Ralph. I really liked his character. Sometimes you don't know the actor from the character. So.
Yeah. In the end, they are just playing a part, and I didn't get to the part of like if they had put anything of what he said. So
I think
you never know who a person really is, and yeah, I mean sometimes you give people the benefit of the doubt, but
I saw one of them, and I read it, and I'm like, I can see where you can interpret it as a joke on one of them, and I can see where you can interpret not. But not having those, the clues, the context, and the knowledge of the person, like, it's just better not to say anything. Even someone like I said, like Kevin Hart, who's known for being a comedian, he had some trouble on past tweets and stuff that he had once sent and said.
Yeah. People are going to, people as a whole are, they're going to kill comedy and put serious dents and tarnish on the entertainment industry, because everything has to be offensive.
Yeah.
In one way or another. And I don't know when the entire world, became offended by everything. But I always kind of find that when it comes to comedy and stuff like that, people need to. And I don't know what this is, but people need to definitely open themselves up, and nothing's off limits, because I mean, sure, there are poor taste jokes, but
Yeah, and I
because
mean,
when you start putting limits on things like comedy and stuff, like
and like I said,
um,
I don't know.
everybody can get offended at some point or another.
I don't know what he's like, all what he said and stuff, and so I mean, if he was, something like, I still think there's just some stuff you just don't joke about, and you don't put it out
Yeah.
there. Like you just keep it to yourself. Like, we live in a culture now where everybody wants to, express every thought they have. Like everything is about,
Yeah.
what? The world should know this. So, well, I mean, look look what happens,
and there's negativity that people like to spew too, and you wish that stuff wasn't out there on social media or coming out of people's mouths. So, I mean, such is life, unfortunately.
But anyways, we got that. I also want to give a quick shout out here real quick. World's Finest True Believers podcast is now part of the Geek Nation. Ultimate Geek Alliance is what it is now. I apologize. Geek Ultimate Alliance. You can find them at GUAP Odd Network. I just did an episode with them on Superman Birthright. So I'm plugging them to plug myself. And everyone should know that. And check that out. It's a great. Now, back to James and I talking. So no more elongated man. So that means we'll probably start the next season with some sort of dialogue about Ralph having to leave. And that'll get rid of the Sue Dibney storyline, which is... Or not. Yeah, Sue Dibney. No. Sue... Crap, why did I just blank on what her maiden name was before she was Sue Dibney?
Oh,
Dearborn.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
Yes, that's it.
Man. But yeah, so that's going to be kind of weird. They're going to have to use some dialogue about where Ralph is or whatever, or do something where another actor comes in for a little bit, plays Ralph like disguised or something, since they kind of, like, he's a long game man, he can change his face, and we've seen him, because of the fact that her being framed for murder at the end of The Flash, spoilers for a show that ended and is on Netflix, their season, was a big part of that cliffhanger. So it's going to be kind of interesting when they pick that thread up.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be different coming back this season with some changes apparently.
What else do we got going on in quick news wise? So DC Daily on DC Universe was canceled. That was dropped today. Like, we just found this out shortly before we started recording.
Yeah, right about 30 minutes ago. That's when we seen it.
All we know is that the show is going to run till the end of next month, and that's it.
Final broadcast on Friday, July 3rd.
And it just kind of stinks because it's another thing that people are going to say to reaffirm or affirm, however you want to look at it, that DC Universe is losing its power, and eventually it'll just become part of, what do you call it?
HBO Max.
And we've said that all along, like, that wouldn't be a horrible thing if they would just decide what they want to do with it. But, if they want to just make it part of HBO Max and do something with it, great. Just don't devalue the service, because, if you don't want to do DC Daily, go back to doing like DC All Access like you used to. where it was a weekly show that would drop on, like, I think it was Tuesdays on their YouTube or whatever.
Sounds about right.
You know, DC All Access would have a new episode, and it was cool because you kind of built up a lot of stuff, you know, instead of making it daily. So,
Yeah, that's when they had to talk about the movies and the books and
the TV show,
all that other stuff.
you
Yeah.
know, I watched when they were like on the set of Gotham, interviewing what's his face is Jim Gordon. So I'd say just bring back DC All Access as a weekly show. You know, it's just, you know, DC's changing. Like, part of the other thing is DC officially announced this week that they're dropped Diamond distribution. I don't have enough knowledge to really tell you the effects of that and what that all means. What Diamond, you know, really does for distribution, how the distribution channels for comics work. All I know is there are people that are really angry about this. I also know that I've talked to local shops before that said one guy has a cool shop, but he doesn't carry new books because he says you have to sell and order so much through Diamond to even get new books, and it's not worth it. I lose money on new books because I don't sell enough. You know, so maybe smaller shops will have a better chance with a new distributor. I don't know, but I know some people seem very upset about this.
Yeah, I mean, my shop expressed some of the same concerns I'd seen, like shipping costs. You know, the more you ship, the less it costs per pound. So, you know, the volume's going to drop of what gets shipped. It's going to be shipped from someplace else using somebody else. So, you know, not sure who delivers where, or who Diamond uses specifically, but you know, that'll create an extra time for a product to be dropped off. You know, multiple times in the week where things are dropped off by different services. So just ordering and shipping, if it's going to affect money wise, how people are, what it's going to cost them to buy books and have them brought in. So that's mostly what it seems like.
So yeah, I
At least for the majority of what I've
just
seen and heard.
Yeah, I just don't. Like I said, I just don't know. It'll be a wait and see what actually occurs.
Yeah. You know, over to the DC Daily. I mean, I like the idea of a DC All Access. I didn't watch DC Daily every single day, but I watched it at least a handful of times or more a month. But it just depended on what they were talking about, what the subject matter was, or just time. Throw on something else while you're doing dishes, you know, and watch a couple of episodes back to back.
You know, my thing was, it was like you said, like sometimes I didn't feel like there was much to talk about, and honestly, I didn't care for a whole lot of the hosts. Sometimes they had people hosting, I was like, okay, but sometimes I was just like, I don't really enjoy.
Right. You know, you bring up the HBO Max thing. I mean, that would be fine if certain content, like if DC Universe pretty much went down to being the comic reader, you know, for the same price point, being like DC's Marvel Unlimited, then I mean, that's worth it.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
They just keep adding more and more just back comics.
Yeah, and no doubt that, I mean, if they were to somewhat be merged, I mean, you may even get some kind of discount for having DC Universe and HBO Max.
So I think there's a lot that could be done, but it's been weird.
Well, they were bought by a company who wants to, do some things that they where the way the world's turning, and then with the pandemic and the way it shut down a lot of things and made them do different things to create work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, animation can be done at home. Voice actors can record from home, things like that. Like, it's changing. It's changed a lot of things. Plus the obvious boom in streaming, especially with people being home. And it's a future and a new model, so whatever the previous Warner Brothers people were doing before they got bought up by AT&T, now those things are likely to have been everything looked at, and some things shut down and some things move forward.
And then this week, do you know what this week was supposed to be, James?
Superman Celebration.
That is correct. This week was supposed
also
to be
Wonder Woman.
Yep, and you beat me to it, but yep.
My bad.
Yes, this week was supposed to have been Wonder Woman 1984, and it would have also been Superman Celebration this coming weekend. So that's kind of a bummer. Now, but it's just what we live in. But let's move on to happier things, shall we?
Yes, please.
So this week, we watched some more Superman cartoons. We watched The Magnetic Telescope, and that was an interesting... All right, Solomon, so we just watched Superman versus the giant electric magnet. What'd you think?
It was really awesome. I didn't watch a whole lot of it.
Yeah? Why not?
Because I was playing on my phone.
Oh, because you're playing on your phone, huh?
Yeah.
But you know what I thought was cool?
What?
I thought it was cool that Superman changed in the back of a car instead of in like a phone booth or an alley or somewhere.
My favorite part was Superman. There's not a lot of parts I've seen.
What about when he got electrocuted?
Yeah, that was my favorite part.
Yeah, where he was holding the wires?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like these cartoons?
Yeah, I do.
You want to watch another one?
Yeah.
Okay. Episode. I'll tell you why. There's a lot more dialogue. Not from the main characters, but a lot more dialogue in that episode or series or film, however they're credited as, than any of the other episodes.
Yeah, definitely to date, and even the next one.
They definitely felt like these two felt like together. They felt a little bit. I mean, there was very little from Superman, and even I looked it up. Both episodes were voiced by Bud Collyer, but it did not feel like him doing the voice.
Yeah, there was very little from him. Which one was it? Yeah, it was actually, it was both of them, honestly. The way Lois gets caught and the way he goes off to become Superman and come save the day. Like, even in the one in the car, he doesn't even say, this one, the magnetic telescope, when he changes inside the back of the cab, the car, he doesn't even say, this looks like it's a job for Superman. He just, music starts playing, he changes inside the car, and he opens the top and goes flying off.
Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because, like, in the magnetic telescope, it was just Lois throws the switch in reverse.
Yeah. But, you know, Superman does the cool thing and yank out the big bar they stuck in to stop the turbine, and uses his body to connect the circuit of all the wires.
Yes, that was actually my favorite part, is when he's just there holding. And I started thinking about, like, with this one, like, did he have his super hearing yet? Was that one of those powers that hadn't fully been developed yet in the stories? Because some of this, I'm like, why isn't Superman here? What's going on?
Well, especially with an asteroid coming at Earth, or a comet coming at the city.
It looks a lot like Krypton.
Right? It's very green.
I mean, that could be kind of cool. Like, it was actually Krypton. We get Perry White in this, though he's never called Perry White. He calls himself city editor, and Lois refers to him as chief.
Yep.
And I mean, that's how Clark learns what's going on. And the coloring of this looks a little different. Now, I know we're not there yet, but I think after number 9, the studio changed. It wasn't Max Fleischer Studios anymore that did some. It was Famous Studios, I believe. I'll have to double check, but because this one just feels a little bit different. Just in some
That being the case, we get there pretty soon.
Yeah, I'll have to double check because I have it in my notes. But this one was cool. I liked that it was different. I liked that he was fighting an asteroid. It's always kind of fun, and I always like seeing Lois do stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? This starts the trend of Superman getting knocked out of the sky by a meteor. Every time he flies at a meteor in space, it always sends him hurtling back to Earth. Sometimes he gets amnesia.
My favorite part, though, is the oh, Superman, you are wonderful, and gets a kiss from Lois. It's in the dark, but it's Clark, and he doesn't have his hat on.
Yeah. The silhouette's identical, but nope, it's Clark.
That's because she can't see the silhouette. We can.
Right.
But yeah, the changing in the back of the car, the first time I was watching it, I didn't quite see that the driver ran out.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yep.
And I was like, wait, what? And then, I checked it again, and I was like, oh, okay.
He took off on foot.
I'm like, all right, that helps me out a whole lot. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. All right, so we'll jump ahead to the next one, and it was called The Electric Earthquake. And I will say this one's kind of interesting because it, like, an underground location, and you have a scientist who is what we perceive to be Native American, who
that was my own.
Goes to the Daily Planet and demands that they help print a story for his people to get their land back. And then the Daily Planet's like, nope. And so he decides to blow up.
Okay. So we just watched Superman and what?
So we just watched
Superman saves the island.
Yeah, it was Superman. Okay, he was saving the island of Manhattan. And from the electric earthquake.
And what was your favorite part about it?
My favorite part about it?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't have a favorite.
You don't have a favorite, Sayla?
I do.
What was your favorite part, Mommy?
I liked when Superman lifted the boat out of the water
Yeah?
because the bad guy thought he got away, but Superman lifted up the boat and grabbed the bad guy and the boat.
My favorite part was when Superman, the water comes into the evil scientist lab
Yeah?
and destroys everything in the lab. Okay, that was my favorite part. What was your favorite part?
You know, I like what Mommy said, but my favorite part is when Clark Kent at the end was talking to Lois, and no, you know what? My favorite part is when Superman goes to change into Superman, or Clark goes to change, and he's in the middle of changing, and the building falls down on him, and then he just pops out as Superman and goes flying. I think it's cool that Superman's in Metropolis, but somehow it's Manhattan Island. I think that's kind of an interesting conundrum. As he works,
That is interesting.
he works for a major metropolitan newspaper. So, did you like it?
Yeah. So what's your favorite part?
So the scientist guy looked like he lived in an underwater teapot. You know, and
Yeah, pretty much, right?
and I found it awkward that he went to the Daily
Had a
Planet.
little underwater elevator too.
He went to the Daily Planet as if it's the only newspaper. Like, you print my story, or I'm gonna blow up the city. No, it doesn't go to like the cops or lawyers or anything. Super.
Right.
But this is the funniest part of this episode, James. Okay. In the intro, it says he works for a major metropolitan newspaper, right? Or am I blending it with the Adventures of Superman?
No, I think it's this.
So Superman's supposed to be in Metropolis, right? At this point in time?
Yeah.
So why are we talking about the island of Manhattan? That's in New York? Not Metropolis?
I say he did. Yeah, he did say that. I was like, wait, did he say the island of Manhattan?
Exactly. What I'm saying. I was like, wait a minute, did I miss something here?
They made a boo-boo.
And that was funny. But this episode was interesting. Jania watched this one with me, so that was always fun. She liked it, and it was nice to see her involved with it, because the kids have really gotten a thrill out of watching these episodes.
Yeah.
What did you think of it? I've been talking too much.
No, it was good. I like some of the Superman action, you know, him being underwater and all that stuff. I mean, I don't really recall this episode from before.
I don't either.
So, I recall the magnetic telescope. I recall seeing that one before. But this is one I don't remember too much of. So, and I really only just like squeezed it in right before we started, and you know, I can't remember a whole lot extra from it.
You know, I'm starting to rethink of my whole existence. Because it feels like some of these I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I saw all this, but I guess I didn't. So I don't know. It's getting kind of crazy.
Well, there's still not a whole lot of them either. So
maybe my kid brain just couldn't process it all.
Yeah, remembered the good ones.
But yeah. So my favorite part for this is when the villain thinks he's getting away, And then all of a sudden, Superman just lifts him out of the water.
Yeah. Takes the boat up out of the water like that.
So it's pretty funny. But what about you, James?
I mean, besides, I guess I like the part where he's pulling the plugs out of the ground and taking explosions and the rocks falling on him. Seems like he's getting trapped and stuff, but he just kind of rolls it off.
I mean, that's Superman. That's what he does.
Yeah.
He's the greatest of us all.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, so that is the electric earthquake. But let's talk about something else that's fascinating. StarGirl. How have you been enjoying StarGirl?
So every episode I've watched at least twice. I didn't, except for episode 3. I've been watching it with my daughter. She's 10 years old, and she's very emotional. So if she sees that boy on the bridge in Icicle, yeah, she might start bawling her eyes out.
Oh my gosh. Spoilers here. And we're not gonna break down the episode that we do with Supergirl. We're just gonna kind of talk in generality. So yes. But hot dog. They did say, like, I read that this will be like Icicle episode 3 was like the darkest. But man, the fact that they kill that kid, and there's a line in episode 4 where Courtney says to Pat, like, he didn't get a chance to even be my friend, like, because he was killed. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, man, like, Icicle killed the dude's son and then kills him.
Well, you know what's messed up?
A lot of stuff.
Well, did you catch at the end of this this next episode that
the mom didn't make it out either?
Spoilers. Yeah, that was the mom's vehicle.
Yeah,
and the mom's cat.
Yeah, I totally just like I didn't know it was the mom's cat at first. I was kind of thinking like something else, but I'm sitting there and Pat's looking and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. And then I just went, oh, and Janio watched this whole episode with us. And yeah, that something.
So yeah, talk about cold, man. That's really messed up. They took out the entire family. When I first put it on this morning, I was still half asleep, so I didn't get up as well this morning, so I missed like the first half up until basically the wife stopped back by Pat's place on her way out. So I only vaguely had the memory of that when I saw the cat and the vehicle later on. I was like, that looks familiar, but I don't know what. And then I watched it again this evening and I was like, oh, that's why. And I heard the cat in her car when she came to Pat that second time, but on her way out. It's like, oh, there it is. Like, oh man.
Oh, so we got so back to the Icicle. You know, we see that Icicle, he, man, his wife died and that sent him down a spiral. He's Jordan. He's kind of the leader.
It's probably, I mean, I'm sure he was already a bad guy.
Oh, yeah. And looks like he's gonna kind of have a thing for Courtney's mom.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be interesting. We see that he's been gone doing his thing, but he's a very well done villain. Very interesting character.
Yeah.
Because he's
Well, Pat tells her that Icicle's bad news. He's dangerous. He's never seen anything but the cosmic staff hurt him.
Because we see there's a whole setup scene where they're talking about family dinner. We all got to be there for the family dinner. And Pat and Courtney go off on a mission. And the son's like going to eat Cheetos. And then
him and the dog eat a whole bag of Cheetos.
Barbara comes home. No one's there for the family dinner. So the next night, we get a shot of them all at home, and they say, like, where's Mom? And Pat's just like, eat your dinner. And we see her at the meeting that she wants to be a part of. Because we have an excellent scene early on, of her trying to participate in her job and basically being shot down by the boss. And then she kind of speaks up again. This time Jordan is there, and he likes her ideas. And, it gives her great strength to feel valued and everything. So something's a brewing there. And it was a good episode. I told Jania at the end of it last week, I was like, I could not. And this rolls over into episode 4. Live in that house. If my husband and, in my case, my wife and my kids died in that short period of time, I'm gone. There's no way I can live in that house. I couldn't function. I couldn't at all. So, and that's, of course, what she tries to do in episode 4. And then we see that someone or something doesn't allow her to leave. And I don't even remember if they gave her a name.
She introduced herself in the second episode. Second episode, right? Yeah.
This is definitely a show that I'm going to go back and watch straight through once it's over. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it, and the kids love it. Solomon watches it. He's 5 more intently. Sayla loves when StarGirl's actually StarGirl in her costume.
Right.
And she'll be like, that's like me. And she'll play as she watches it. And Solomon, he'll count down to it. He'll be like, Daddy, it's Monday. Can we watch new StarGirl?
Nice.
I'm like,
that's awesome.
Yes, buddy. Yes.
So, well, like I said, Bella didn't see last week's episode. We watched this week's episode tonight, and she loved it. She loves Wildcat. They really did effectively, show who she was and what happened to her and why she's this now and why her parents are such garbage.
Thank you.
And
we're going to get there.
And, they did a really good job of showing who she was. And then the entire episode is about her and Courtney. And it works very well. And it's kind of cool, that Wildcat has a, one-size-fits-all vibranium suit.
I did think that. I was like, so Wildcat's a little Black Panther-y. The suit reminded me of the scene in Spider-Man Homecoming when he puts it on and he presses a spider and it vacuum seals it to him.
Ah, right.
I was like, okay, all right. But it's cool, and the adamantium claws, it's cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
Promethean.
Yeah.
Promethean claws. We're in DC.
I know.
We don't have adamantium or vibranium.
But I'm sitting there watching. I was like, Wildcat was just a dude in a cat suit who was a boxer. I'm just like,
right.
So the cat powers that come from the suit.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go with it. Whatever.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, but I was like, you know what?
It's Earth
I'm
2.
gonna.
Wildcat on Earth 1 just disappeared.
Yeah, he was a boxer, he was a fighter, and then
He just
yep,
literally disappeared.
he got caught up in human trafficking and he disappeared.
They forgot to give him a closure on Arrow. He just literally disappeared.
Yeah, poof, be gone.
So we're going to talk about the beginning of episode 4. We're not going to be descriptive, but it is, more adult content. And James and I are both fathers of daughters. And basically, we find out that Yolanda is a very upstanding student, girl, person. She has a boyfriend, Henry, Brainwave's son. And he's texting her saying, send him a picture. So she decides that she's going to take a picture for her boyfriend and send it to him. And then somehow, it's not exactly clear, that photo gets to her Mean Girls school
that
rival,
girl Cindy or whatever,
piece of garbage. And
and the popular girl, the mean girl, popular girl, yeah.
And James, please tell me how there's these special servers that we see in movies and shows where someone will share something and everyone's phone gets it at the same time.
Right.
You have to tell me that they all have notifications on in school and they're all like following her on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. They all got an alert at the same time.
Yeah.
There's some like special server, magical server.
Yeah, with a little swipe on your phone and you can send whatever you want to everybody.
Because my thing was when she swiped like that, I thought she was like going to cast it onto the screen or something.
Yeah.
So this photo gets out, and all of a sudden, people are laughing. She's embarrassed, Yolanda, and she runs off stage during the election where she was running against the other girl.
Yeah.
And then we cut 3 months later, which is now modern time, and basically, her parents treat her like garbage. They tell her she's a disgrace. Everybody puts her down. She's lost her confidence in herself. And her boyfriend, Henry, is with the other girl. So it makes me wonder if it was all just a setup or something from the beginning.
Yeah. His appearances in the first couple of episodes would give you the idea that it was one of those just elaborate plans that you see from terrible high school bullies and mean girls in movies and shows and stuff, where they do this big elaborate plan to set them up. But in the opening of this episode, he was not happy that that picture got out like that. And when they accidentally bumped into each other in the hall, and all she said was sorry, and the mean girl was just straight up, just being a total B-up. And he didn't seem all too thrilled, her asking, what'd she say, and, blowing her off the way he did. Like, it kind of seems like a different side of him in this episode.
Yeah. All I'm going to say is he's a piece of trash.
That's the way they've played it. So, I mean,
you can't
I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go against it. I'm not going to try and convince you otherwise. I'm just, thinking that maybe it wasn't all on him, but he's still playing. Maybe he's got to play up this part, but
he's a walking piece of trash.
Yes.
Yes.
I will go with that I will go with you on that.
The fact that he's dating the other girl.
It's not.
That tells me he's garbage.
Yeah. Well, the way it seems and the way it's the next generation of these heroes and villains and stuff, the way it seems wouldn't even surprise me if he wasn't being blackmailed or something.
Yeah.
we're gonna see how it plays out. But dude, first of all, I'm gonna get serious here. If that was my daughter, if my daughter was Yolanda, okay, and that happened to her, one, I'm not gonna be mad at my daughter. We'll have a talk, but I can understand why she would do something like that. Okay, I was young once. Okay, I understand how kids act. Okay, we will talk, but you best believe, one, I'm gonna be all over whoever sent that photo out. I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna be after that dude, see what his part was, and then find out who is the one who shared it with everyone. Two, I'm pulling my daughter out of that school because I'm not gonna let her live in that shame and with that constantly. And three, the scene where she apologizes to her family and stands up, and her dad just says, "Go to your room." I'm sorry, like I would not be that parent at all. I sent you guys a message saying, non-spoiler, but for explicitive word, Yolanda's parents.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
expletive.
Like, I'm not repeating myself here, but I'm just saying, like, straight up.
Yeah, she's standing up and she's apologizing to everybody. Her grandma is sitting there kind of like happy she's standing up for herself and apologizing. Like, her grandmother doesn't seem as disgusted. Her brother is standing up for her. And then, man, her parents, yeah, they're just garbage. Like, the mother's like, you disgraced your family. You disgraced yourself. Like really?
And this is 3 months later. This is like 3 days later. This is 3 months. They've put her daughter and made her feel like her whole life is over and she is not defined. Like, this ain't the Scarlet Letter. Okay?
Yeah.
This is 2020. And we have a whole culture about kids doing junk like that. Okay? And
yeah, at this point, it's, with the way that is and the way that people are and the way that digital footprint, is out there when it happens. I mean, now's the time to open up, expand, teach kids that it's a body. Everybody has a body. You know what I mean? Be proud of your body, and other people's bodies shouldn't make you feel uncomfortable or ashamed.
And first of all,
so shaming somebody else for their body in this manner, like,
I don't know why they would, like,
how many levels of human trash do we have to work on?
Yeah, like, I'm not doing like a whole speech about the whole thing, but I'm just saying, like, her parents are horrible. Second of all, I made the joke to Jania. I was like, that's why you don't put your head on
it. Right. Always hide your face.
I had a friend that she said, like, anytime she had a boyfriend who'd want, like, anything kind of sexy or whatever, she was like, I never put my face.
Right.
I'm like, okay, cool. Like, good. All right, good for you. Like,
understandable. Have you? I'm sorry. Have you ever seen Blue Mountain State? The show Blue Mountain State?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God! It is a comedy football show.
It's the one
Stephen
with
Amell is in it, and so is Alan Richardson.
Yep.
And oh my God, there's the main character of the show, his best friend, and his name is Sammy. He actually plays Punchy on How I Met Your Mother.
Oh.
But it's the same dude. He plays his buddy Sammy, and oh my God, like Sammy. Everybody needs a friend like Sammy. Like, he's down for whatever. He's got your back for whatever, and he'll defend your honor. And there's a pick episode.
I'm really looking forward to the next one, because she's supposed to be recruiting more of her new JSA. And I tell you one thing, I feel like we're missing from the show, though, is I'd like to see some scenes of just Pat and Barbara. Like, let's get a good feeling on their relationship.
Yeah, Luke Wilson and Amy Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love both of them. They're great.
Because I feel like, Icicle Jordan's going to be, coming after Barbara. And, Pat's going to have to do some kind of lying, manipulating type things because of him helping Courtney and everything. And it's going to cause some issues. But we need to kind of see what their relationship is like before things start to struggle a little bit. And then, of course, at some point in time, I hope we find out who Courtney's real dad is, and she deals with that herself, like you and I talked about.
Yeah, definitely. She definitely needs to come face to face with her real dad, who's not Starman. So she really has to rethink why she's doing this. She a hero because of her own sake now, because she was trying to live up to a legacy which she thought was her father. Now it'll be like even a more pure legacy to live up to a superhero as opposed to, doing it for the sake of your parent.
Exactly. So, all right. So let's go to the next episode. Or not episode, the next on our agenda, which is Action Comics 1022. And man, you read it, right?
Yep. Good issue.
Yes. Okay. So this is the first,
little more expansive than we've had questions.
The House of Kent, Chapter 1. And I feel like the last couple of action with the whole, was it just in?
It was still Year of the Villain, totality stuff going on.
I kind of got lost in that, to be honest with you. I didn't really care for it. So this picks up because I did go back and read some Young Justice because all of a sudden Connor is back. And that's part of the big deal is Connor shows up, but Superman doesn't know who he is. Okay.
Which is interesting because this is supposed to be the post-crisis Superman.
But it's post-Rebirth. So, and the whole point of Rebirth was, with Superman, it brought everything into form. That was supposed to... it solidified everything that Superman had from both the New 52 and before.
Yeah.
The post-crisis.
Yeah, that's that reborn storyline.
But yet they've never talked about Connor since then as Superboy, and yet, I haven't read. I read a little bit of Young Justice Jim World, where they found him and got him, and I just thought they were remembering Connor, much like when Wally West came back, and they were starting to get their memories back of him. But it's so very weird right now because.
Well, you read at the beginning, right, where Tim was having dreams.
Yeah.
What he thought accounted for memories or something, and he had to find this Young Justice team.
Yeah, and that's why I was trying to figure it out. Okay, all right. So Connor's trying to talk, and everyone's trying to figure out who he is, and it's just Connor and Superman just sitting and talking, and they're in the fortress, and Superman calls in some experts, and then John shows up from the future with Brainiac 5. So we get a cool thing of Connor meeting John, which I thought would be awesome, but I wish it was more younger John, because now Connor and John look like they're the same age.
Yeah.
You know, and Connor explains like he's the clone of Superman and Lex Luthor and who he is, and then what really got my brain scratching was that he was asking him how he was raised, where he came to be, and all this. And he says, you know, Mom and Pa can't raise me. And then they go to the farm and to see the Kents, and Mom and Pa see him and then automatically recognize Connor. And
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I had to think, Ma and Pa, okay, did not come back until Doomsday Clock.
Yep.
Because they didn't come back in Rebirth.
Nope, they came back in Doomsday Clock in issue 12. When Dr. Manhattan started kind of correcting things a little bit more, and the whole premise of the story where every era needs and will have its superhero, its Superman analog.
Because I went back and read Doomsday Clock 12 just to make sure. So this is the first story that's kind of coming after Doomsday Clock.
Officially, yeah, that we know of.
You know? Yeah, the first kind of thread that's filtering in. So it kind of, like I've said before, I kind of felt like Bendis as Superman was kind of going to take place post Doomsday Clock. And I think that still works for the most part.
Except for however Doomsday Clock would line up with the year of the villain and
but if it's after
the totality storyline.
But all that would be after Doomsday Clock.
Yeah.
So I mean, wouldn't that work out?
Right.
You know, and I don't know all
quite possibly. I mean,
and that's just kind of where my mind is right now. Because it occurred somehow before this for Connor to be here, and because Mom and Pa are here, and this is the first story that in the Superman books that Mom and Pa have shown back up.
Yeah, I think it's really nice of them getting back around to this finally. The idea that these people that they didn't know, they were having memories of a team and being on a team with these people, you know, that they had no memories of, that they didn't know up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So they finally kind of get around to Connor. That's a thread that started in the first issue of Young Justice, and you know, now 15, 16 issues later, haven't hardly addressed that at all. I mean, I like them going through the multiverse. I like the time they spent on Earth 3. Even though I've actually I was looking back, I got to go back and do some looking at Darkseid War, because the Crime Syndicate is back in that, when a lot of them died, or almost all of them died in Forever Evil. So, but I know that they're back. And so, however that lines up with the Earth 3 that they ran into there. But it's actually pretty cool to see Connor is from another world that seems to have, or somehow, has merged with their world, and some of the memories have carried over, others haven't. Some people carry these memories, which is interesting. It's kind of what it seems like in Rebirth, since the very beginning, like with Wally, you know, who where the Flash was his lightning rod, and brought him back. Like certain people carry these memories from before Flashpoint and stuff like that, and it's not until specific interactions do these memories actually emerge. I mean, that's kind of a cool way to rebuild your legacy from having 80 years worth of comics, you know?
Yep.
Instead of creating just a flat out new timeline, which they started with the New 52, and they built up a world, and then they started to do Rebirth and Doomsday Clock, and I think that's a pretty cool concept, and it can really you can really actually expand that quite far to keep pulling continuity forward, you know?
Mm-hmm. Because my thing
in
is,
my opinion,
the New 52 Superboy, like, was like really a weird kind of idea and story. It gets confusing, and I don't even remember it all.
Well, so I haven't read all of Superboy. I just think of from the issues that I read, didn't he like get stranded on Krypton when it died? So didn't like Superboy from the New 52 kind of like get written out of existence?
I think so. Something like that.
And then they're talking about he brings up in this issue. I mean, it seemed that way to me anyways, like he was what was it? He says, I've been told that I am the clone of Superman and Lex Luthor's DNA fused together. I think I've been told I am from another version of this Earth, but from this Earth, just a different version that maybe doesn't exist anymore. So either an Earth that doesn't exist anymore or another version of Superboy that doesn't exist anymore. That's almost the way I took that.
Yeah, because the New 52 was like a different
Just thinking about
style.
From the New 52 version.
He was like, I have to refresh, but yeah, he was a little bit of a different style. And then this Connor looks more in line with the right after the death of Superman Superboy. Not even the black shirt with the red S. Connor Superboy.
Right.
But yeah, I like this story. I'm really interested in
which that same one turned into.
Right.
You know, after living and spending time on the farm.
I'm just wanting Connor Superboy to get his own moniker. Like, he needs his own code name. Since we're all about giving everybody their own names. Like, he needs to be Superman's Nightwing.
He's super guy.
Yeah, super dude. Kind of like, I don't know why they didn't name Wally West like Red Flash or something when he came back. Instead of just being like, he's the Flash, and then there's the Flash, and then there's Kid Flash. Like, it was kind of, a little confusing. Like, they should just call him like Red Flash or something,
Right.
Had, like, when became Red Arrow.
The Red Blur.
The Red Blur. So yeah, I'm waiting for Connor to get his own name. I mean, we did just give Tim Drake his own as Drake. So it would be, I think, Superboy Connor deserves it since we have John as Superboy. So
that's one of those ideas, it's so close that they'll never think of it.
I actually tweeted at Bendis that, and he liked my tweet. So.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Good on me,
Yeah, right.
But that's pretty much going to wrap up this week's episode. I think we got news and one more quick point. I got a message from a friend of mine, and I have to hunt this down. But he was saying that news is coming out that Matt Reeves is planning a trilogy for his movies, and looks at introducing a new Joker either at the end of his film or the second film. And I'm just like, okay, so now you're just going to follow the Nolan template?
Right.
Like,
is that what's just being told now? We
you
need another Nolan movie.
Is the Batman is going to be like Nolan 2.0?
You know what we didn't touch on really quickly in here is the Invisible Mafia storyline.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about it right now. Oh wait, I'm more interested in just Connor and his
yeah,
the whole story.
So
where he came from right now, because that
right,
because that to me right now is really interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely the most interesting part of this story. But since the Invisible Mafia went back to the beginning of this action run, I mean, the Red Cloud is still there, and at the very end, seems like she's gonna attack or something Lois and Jimmy. And then Leon says something, "I'm done looking for the perfect Earth. If this isn't it, it's not to be found. This is it." So, is she traveling to parallel Earths, or because they're not trying to make the Earth a better place?
Right. That's I mean, I'm intrigued. Don't get me wrong, but
so, right? Is it just more still to come? So that's basically the two things. Red Cloud. She seems to be attacking Jimmy and Lois almost at the end. They're given a tip to go there. It's a setup, and then that line from Leon, because since the beginning, we've seen Leon. She has that car from Action Comics 1, the car that smashed up. So just, is this the same Superman with the same car? Like we got that in Doomsday Clock, right? Mm-hmm. But where'd she get the car? Like it had to have been a different place at a different time or something.
Well, I mean, in Doomsday Clock, it all became connected. So, like it exists different times. So, I don't know. It's very good questions, and I'm intrigued to see where they go, and I look forward to the next chapter of this.
Yeah. This was a good issue. It's definitely a pickup from the last bit, and from time to time, like Romita Jr.'s art is really good. This book in particular, his art is actually really good. Some of his art, especially just the way he draws Superman and stuff, like the cover art is decent, but it's not my favorite look for Superman or anything.
I agree.
But inside the book, it looks really good. Like, I think the book here looks better than freaking anything he did, pretty much, for the most part anyway. It's not everything, but for the most part, what he did in Superman Earth 1. Or not Earth 1, Year 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is chapter 1, so got a few more to go.
Let's see how it goes.
Bendis.
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look in the sky.